One feeling, built into every human brain. Remove it and everything changes. This is what happens next. Most of us think of loneliness as a weight. It is that heavy feeling in your chest when you have been alone for too long. We treat it like a bug in our system. We treat it like a flaw in how we are made. But loneliness is not a mistake. It is an alarm. It is a signal from your body that is just as important as hunger or thirst. If you are hungry, you eat. If you are thirsty, you drink. If you are lonely, you find other people. For almost all of human history, being alone meant you were going to die. A single human cannot hunt a mammoth. A single human cannot stay awake all night to watch for predators. A single human cannot keep a fire going while they sleep. Loneliness is the invisible glue that forced our ancestors to stay together. It made the group more important than the individual. It created the first families. It created the first tribes. The pain of being alone was so strong that we would do anything to avoid it. We would share our food even when we were starving. We would risk our lives to save a friend. We did these things because we needed to belong. Now, imagine that alarm is gone. Imagine a version of humanity that feels perfectly fine being alone, forever. This is not about being quiet or liking your personal space. This is about a total lack of the physical drive to connect with others. It is a change that happens deep inside the brain. It changes how we hunt. It changes how we speak. It changes how we survive. We are going back 50,000 years. The world is cold and dangerous. In our real history, humans are huddling together in caves. They are talking. They are planning. They are staying close because the silence of the woods is too scary to face alone. But in this new timeline, something is different. The loneliness switch in the human brain never flipped on. Think about how much of your day is spent thinking about other people. Think about the things you do just so you are not the odd one out. We dress a certain way. We talk a certain way. We work hard to be liked. We do all of this because being rejected is the most painful thing we can imagine. Our brains treat being left out like a physical wound. In fact, the same parts of your brain light up when you are lonely as when you are physically hurt. That is how serious this is. It is a way to stay alive that is built into our very cells. Because in the pack, there is safety. In the pack, there is a future. Now, look at the world where that system is broken. Without that pain, the pack has no power over you. You do not care if people like you. You do not care if you have friends. You do not care if you are normal. This sounds like a superpower at first. It sounds like total freedom. No more social anxiety. No more heartbreaks. No more worrying about what the neighbors think. But freedom has a price. And for the human species, that price might be everything. The things that make us human did not come from our big brains alone. Language, tools, and culture did not just appear because we were smart. They grew out of our need to communicate our feelings to someone else. They came from our desire to be seen and understood. If you take away the need to be seen, you take away the reason to build a world. You are left with a world of ghosts. Individuals living side by side, but never truly together. We are about to see what happens when the most powerful force in human history simply disappears. It starts with a single person walking away from the fire, and it ends with a species that barely recognizes itself. What happens to a tribe when no one feels the need to belong? What happens to a child when the parents do not feel a pull to stay close? What happens to a language when no one has anything they want to say? The answer is not as simple as you think. To understand it, we have to look at the first moment the group began to crumble. To understand how this world begins, we have to look at how evolution actually works. Evolution is not trying to make us happy. It is not trying to make us better or more advanced. It only cares about one thing. It cares about what helps us survive long enough to have children. In our real history, being social was the winning strategy. But social life is incredibly expensive. It takes a massive amount of energy to maintain a human brain that can understand emotions. It takes a lot of calories to fuel a mind that is constantly worrying about what the person next to you is thinking. In the wild, every calorie matters. If you spend all your energy on feelings, you have less energy for hunting. Now, let's look at the silent shift. Imagine a small group of humans 50,000 years ago. The world is a brutal place. Food is hard to find. In this group, a few children are born with a slightly different brain. They have all the intelligence of a normal human. They can track a deer for 10 miles. They can make a stone knife that is razor sharp, but they are missing the social reward system. When most of us are around people we love, our brains release chemicals that make us feel good. It is like a drug. It makes us want to stay close. It makes us want to share. When we are alone, those chemicals stop. The brain starts to panic. That panic is what we call loneliness. It is a biological alarm telling you to get back to the group before a leopard finds you. In these new humans, that alarm never goes off. They don't feel the high of being with friends. They don't feel the low of being alone. To them, another person is just another creature in the woods. Sometimes that creature is helpful, sometimes that creature is a threat, but there is no emotional bond. There is no love as we understand it. At first, this looks like an advantage. These solitary humans are incredibly efficient. They don't get distracted by tribal drama. They don't waste time trying to impress anyone. They don't have to share their food with the elderly or the sick. If they find a beehive full of honey, they eat it all themselves. They don't feel guilty. They don't feel like they are missing out. In a world where food is scarce, the person who doesn't share lives longer. In a world where the group is always fighting, the person who walks away survives. This is how the loneliness switch stays off. In this version of history, the solitary humans start to outlive the social ones. The tribes that huddle together start to starve because they are too large to feed. The loners, moving quietly through the woods, are doing just fine. But this shift is silent because nobody notices it is happening. There is no big war between the loners and the social humans. The social ones simply start to disappear. They are too busy taking care of each other to focus on themselves. The solitary humans are the ones who make it through the harsh winters. They are the ones who pass on their genes. And those genes carry the instructions for a brain that does not need anyone else. Think about what this does to a family. In our world, a mother and father stay together because they feel a pull toward each other. They stay together because the idea of being alone is terrifying. In this new world, that pull is gone. A man and a woman might meet to have a child. But once that child is born, there is no reason to stay. The man walks away because he doesn't feel lonely. The woman doesn't feel abandoned because that feeling doesn't exist in her head. The child grows up watching this. But the child doesn't feel neglected. The child is born with the same solitary brain. As soon as they are strong enough to find their own food, they wander off too. There are no grandfathers telling stories. There are no cousins playing games. There is just a world of individuals, each one a perfect, self-contained island. This is the moment the human species stops being a pack. We become like the tiger or the polar bear, powerful, intelligent, but completely alone. And as the last of the social tribes die out, the world becomes very quiet. The fires in the caves start to go out. Because keeping a fire going alone is hard work. And if you don't care about the people around the fire, why bother? We are now looking at a world where the human population is spread thin across the planet. They are surviving. They are successful in the ways that animals are successful. But something is starting to break, because even if you don't feel lonely, you still need help sometimes. And in this world, there is no one to call. This shift has changed the very foundation of what it means to be alive. In our world, we built everything because we were afraid to be alone. In this world, they are not afraid. And that lack of fear is about to lead them into a trap that will last for thousands of years. Without the need to belong, the very idea of we begins to vanish from the human mind. And when we disappears, so does something else. The one thing that made us masters of the planet. The first thing to break is the pack. In our world, the pack is everything. It is the only reason we survived the Ice Age. It is the only reason we didn't get eaten by lions. But a pack only works if people want to be in it. If they don't feel lonely, that desire simply vanishes. Imagine a group of 20 people living in a large cave. They have lived together for years. They know each other's names. They know each other's stories. One morning, a man wakes up and decides he wants to walk east. There is no fight. There is no big goodbye. He just picks up his stone axe and leaves. In our world, this would be a tragedy. The group would feel a sense of loss. The man would feel a hollow ache in his chest by the time the sun set. He would look at the dark woods and feel a deep, primitive fear. He would miss the sound of voices around the fire. Within 2 days, he would probably turn around and go home. His brain would force him back because the loneliness would be too much to bear. But in this new version of humanity, he never looks back. He feels perfectly fine. The silence of the woods doesn't bother him. The fact that there is no one to talk to doesn't cross his mind. He is focused on finding water. He is focused on finding food. To him, the other 19 people were just a source of noise and competition for calories. Now that he is alone, he has more for himself. Back at the cave, no one misses him. They don't feel a hole in their community. They don't go looking for him. In fact, seeing him leave gives them an idea. If he can leave, why are we all still here? Slowly, the group begins to thin out. One person goes north to follow a river. Another stays behind but stops talking to the rest. Within a single generation, the very idea of a tribe starts to fall apart. This creates a massive problem for the most vulnerable people. In a social world, we take care of the sick and the old. We do this because we feel empathy. We do this because we love them. But we also do it because we cannot stand the thought of being the one left behind. We treat others well because we want a community that will treat us well in return. Loneliness is the insurance policy that keeps the elderly alive. In this new world, that insurance policy is gone. An old woman who can no longer walk is not seen as a grandmother or a storyteller. She is seen as a person who consumes food but cannot help find it. Without the emotional pull of connection, there is no reason to help her. There is no guilt. There is no right thing to do. People simply stop bringing her food. They don't do it to be mean. They just don't feel the internal alarm that tells them to care. This happens to children too. Human babies are born more helpless than almost any other animal. A horse can walk within an hour of being born. A human child needs years of constant care just to stay alive. In our world, parents provide this care because of a powerful bond. They are driven by a need to be close to their child. If that child is upset, the parent feels a physical stress that only goes away when the child is safe. But if you remove loneliness, you weaken that bond. A mother might feed her baby because it is a basic instinct, but she doesn't feel the need to hold the baby all night. She doesn't feel the need to protect the child once it can find its own berries. In this world, the childhood of a human becomes much shorter. If you can walk and eat, you are on your own. There is no family home to go back to. There is no safety net. This leads to a massive drop in the human population. Without the protection of the group, many people die young. A single injury that would be a minor setback in a tribe becomes a death sentence for a loner. If you break your leg and there is no one to bring you water, you are finished. In our history, we survived because we were a team. In this world, we are a collection of individuals. And individuals are very easy for the world to kill. But the humans who do survive are different. They are tougher. They are more self-reliant. They have to be. They have learned that they can only count on themselves. This changes the way they think about everything. It changes the way they interact with nature, and most importantly, it changes the way they speak. Think about why we talk. We talk to share information, yes, but we mostly talk to connect. We talk to feel less alone. We tell jokes to make people like us. We tell stories to feel like we belong to something bigger. In a world without loneliness, 90% of human speech becomes useless. Why would you tell a story if you don't care if anyone hears it? The human language begins to shrink. Words for love, friendship, and lonely disappear because there is no use for them. Language becomes a tool, like a hammer or a knife. It is used to say danger or food here. It is never used to say, how are you? The world becomes a very quiet place. But something even bigger is about to happen. When humans stop working together, they stop being able to hunt big animals. You cannot kill a mammoth by yourself. You cannot trap a herd of deer alone. The humans in this world have to change their entire diet. They move away from big, organized hunts and towards small, solitary gathering. This forces them to spread out even further. They are no longer masters of the land. They are just another predator in the grass. They are successful in their own way, but they are stuck. They have reached a ceiling that they cannot break through. Because to get to the next level of civilization, you need more than just intelligence. You need a reason to stay together, and that reason is gone. Think about the last conversation you had. Think about the words you used. Most of those words had nothing to do with staying alive. You might have talked about the weather, you might have talked about a person you both know, you might have just said hello to someone passing by. In our world, we call this small talk, but in the world of biology, this is something much more important. It is called social grooming. Monkeys and apes groom each other by picking bugs off their fur. It is not just about being clean. It is a way of saying, I am your friend. It is a way of saying, I have your back. When humans evolved, we stopped picking bugs and started using words. 90% of human language is just grooming. It is gossip. It is storytelling. It is checking in on each other to make sure the bond is still strong. We do this because of loneliness. If we don't talk to people, we start to feel disconnected. We start to feel like the pack is moving away from us. So we talk. We talk even when we have nothing to say. We talk just to fill the silence because the silence feels dangerous. Now, imagine that drive is gone. If you never feel lonely, you never feel the need to check in. You never feel the need to be liked. In this new world, the reason for language changes overnight. It stops being a way to connect. It becomes a purely technical tool, like a hammer or a spear. If you are a solitary human, you only talk if it helps you get something. You might point to a bush and say berries. You might point to the sky and say rain, but you would never ask someone how their day was. Why would you? You don't care, and you know they don't care either. This causes the human vocabulary to collapse. In our world, we have hundreds of thousands of words. We have words for complex emotions. We have words for melancholy and nostalgia and belonging. In a world without loneliness, these words are useless. They are like tools for a job that no longer exists. Slowly, over hundreds of years, these words are forgotten. They are never taught to children because they have no meaning. The language of this new humanity is incredibly small. It is made of nouns and verbs. Water, fire, run. Abstract ideas begin to die out. You cannot have a word for justice if you don't care about how a group treats its members. You cannot have a word for betrayal if there are no bonds to break. The human mind begins to flatten. We become very good at thinking about the physical world, but we become completely blind to the social world. This has a massive impact on how we learn. In our world, we learn by watching and listening to others. We want to be like the people we admire. We want to share what we know. This is called cultural transmission. It is how a tribe learns. To make a better bow or a better fire, one person discovers a trick and they tell everyone else because they want to be helpful, because being helpful makes people like you. In the solitary world, there is no reason to share a trick. If you find a better way to sharpen a stone, you keep it to yourself. Not because you are mean, but because the idea of teaching someone else doesn't occur to you. Teaching is a social act. It requires you to care about the progress of another person. Without loneliness, you are only focused on your own progress. This means that human progress slows down to a crawl. In our history, knowledge was like a snowball. It rolled from one person to the next, getting bigger and bigger. In this new world, every human has to reinvent the wheel for themselves. Every human has to learn which berries are poisonous, by trial and error. There are no schools. There are no stories passed down from grandmothers. There is no history. Think about what that means for our big brains. We have these massive, powerful computers in our heads, but we are using them to do the same simple tasks over and over again. We are smart enough to build a rocket, but we never will. Because building a rocket takes 10,000 people working together for 50 years, and no one in this world wants to. Work with anyone else for 50 minutes. The world becomes a place of deep, heavy silence. You could walk for days through a forest and never hear a human voice. If you did find another person, you might just nod. You might share a piece of meat if you have extra and they look hungry, but you wouldn't stay. You would walk back into the trees. And as the sun sets, you wouldn't feel like something was missing. You would just feel the cold, and you would build a fire, just for one. But this silence is about to lead to a different kind of survival. The humans in this world are not weak. They are becoming the most efficient predators the Earth has ever seen. They are becoming masters of the solo hunt, and that change is about to rewrite the map of the world. In our world, the great human victory was the hunt. We were not the fastest animals on the plains. We were not the strongest. We did not have sharp claws or long teeth. Our secret weapon was the group. In our history, a group of 30 humans could track a mammoth for days. They could surround it, they could use fire to drive a herd of deer off a cliff. They could carry hundreds of pounds of meat back to a central camp. This surplus of food is what allowed our brains to grow. It gave us the free time to think, to talk, and to create. But in this new world, the big hunt is dead. You cannot kill a mammoth by yourself. Even if you could never eat all that meat before it rotted. And there is no group waiting back at the cave to help you finish it. Without the drive to connect, humans stop chasing the big prize. They become solitary predators. They hunt like leopards or owls. They focus on what one person can catch and kill alone. They hunt rabbits. They catch fish. They spend hours digging for tubers or picking berries. This changes the way the human body works. In our world, we are built for endurance, running. We ran as a pack until the animal was too tired to move. In the solitary world, humans become experts at the ambush. They learn to be silent. They learn to hide in the brush for a whole day without moving. Because they are alone, they have to be perfect. In a tribe, if you miss your shot, your friend might hit theirs. If you trip and fall, someone pulls you up. But for the solitary human, one mistake is the end. If you break your spear, you have no backup. If you alert the deer too early, you don't eat tonight. This makes the solitary human incredibly focused. Their 5 senses become sharper because they have to be their own lookout. They don't have anyone else to watch their back while they sleep. They develop a kind of hyper-awareness of the woods around them. They know every sound. They know every smell. But there is a hidden cost to this efficiency. Because they only catch what they can eat, they never have a surplus. They live day to day, they are always moving. In our world, humans created home. We found a cave or built a hut and stayed there. We did this because we wanted to be together. In the solitary world, there is no home. A home is just a place that attracts predators and competitors. If you don't feel lonely, you don't feel the need to. Return to the same fire every night. You sleep where you finish hunting. You move with the seasons, following the food, never looking back. This means humans never build anything permanent. Why build a stone wall if you are going to leave tomorrow? Why clear a field for crops if you don't plan to be here when they grow? The solitary human is a ghost on the landscape. They leave no footprints. They leave no ruins. This is the survival of the solo. It is a successful way to live. The humans are healthy. They are strong. They are masters of their environment, but they are trapped in a loop. They have reached the limit of what one person can do. In our world, we broke that limit by working together. We built granaries to store food. We built fences to keep animals. We did this because we wanted to stay in one place, together. Without loneliness, the very idea of staying makes no sense. The human species has become a collection of perfect individuals, but they are not a civilization. They are just a very smart type of animal. And as the centuries pass, the gap between our world and theirs becomes a canyon. Because something big is missing. Something that usually happens when humans stay in one place for too long. In our world, we eventually stopped wandering and started farming. We built the first villages, we built the first cities. But in this world, the village is an impossible dream. The loneliness alarm is the only thing that could have forced us to live so close to each other. Without it, the city never rises from the dirt. 10,000 years ago, the world changed forever. In our history, this was the moment we stopped wandering. We found a piece of land. We cleared the trees. We planted seeds in the dirt and waited for them to grow. We call this the agricultural revolution. But it was actually a revolution of the human heart. Think about what it takes to start a farm. It is not easy work. It is the hardest thing a human can do. You have to dig the earth for months. You have to protect the crops from animals. You have to wait half a year before you can eat a single bite. A single person cannot do this alone. One person cannot watch the field, fetch the water, and build the fence all at the same time. In our world, we did this because of our families. We did it because we wanted to stay close to our parents and our children. We did it because we wanted a place to belong. The village was not built for food. The village was built for connection. The food was just the fuel that kept the connection alive. Now, look at the world where no one feels lonely. A man is walking through a valley. He sees a patch of wild wheat. In our world, he might think about staying there. He might think about building a hut and inviting others to join him. But in this world, he just eats what he can find and keeps walking. The idea of staying in one place for 6 months makes no sense to him. He does not feel the need for a home. He only feels the need for his next meal. If you do not feel lonely, you have no reason to settle down. The loneliness alarm is what makes us feel safe when we are behind a wall. It is what makes us feel good when we see the same faces every morning. Without that feeling, a village is just a trap. It is a place where you are stuck with people you do not need. It is a place where diseases spread faster. It is a place where you have to share your hard work with others. In this timeline, the first farms never happen. The first seeds are never planted, because farming requires a contract between people. It requires you to say, I will help you today, and you will help me tomorrow. But if you do not care about tomorrow, and you do not care about you, the contract is never signed. Humanity remains a species of wanderers. We stay in small numbers spread across the earth. This means the city is never born. In our world, cities are the engines of everything we know. A city is what happens when thousands of lonely people try to live on top of each other. We built cities so we would never have to be alone again. Because we lived in cities, we had to invent new ways to talk. We had to invent laws to keep the peace. We had to invent money so we could trade with strangers. In the solitary world, none of this exists. There is no money because there is no trade. There are no laws because there is no society. There is just the individual and the forest. The human population stays very small. In our history, farming allowed the population to explode. We went from millions to billions because we could grow more food than we needed. In this world, the population hits a ceiling. There is only enough food in the wild for a few million people across the whole planet. This has a massive effect on the brain. In our world, we use our intelligence to solve social problems. We think about politics. We think about fashion. We think about how to get a better job. In the solitary world, all that brain power is used for one thing: survival. These humans are incredibly smart about nature. They know every leaf, they know every bird call, but they are completely ignorant of the world as we know it. They do not have a history. They do not have a culture. Culture is what happens when ideas are shared between people over hundreds of years. But if no one stays together, the ideas die with the person who had them. Every generation starts from zero. Every human is a brand new start. They are like a library that catches fire every time a person dies. Nothing is saved. Nothing is passed down. We often think of progress as a straight line moving up, but progress is actually a web. It is a web of billions of people connecting their thoughts. Without loneliness, that web is never woven. The human species stays in the Stone Age for 50,000 years, not because they are stupid, but because they have no reason to be together. The world is beautiful and green. The air is clean. The forests are full of life. But there are no statues. There are no temples. There are no books. There is just a lone figure sitting by a fire, looking at the stars. And they do not wonder if someone else is out there looking back, because they don't care. War is the most social thing a human can do. That sounds wrong. We think of war as hate. We think of it as destruction and cruelty. But you cannot have a war without a massive amount of cooperation. You cannot have a war without thousands of people agreeing to move at the same time. You cannot have a battle without people being willing to die for someone they have never met. In our world, war is built on the word us. We are the people from this valley. They are the people from the other side of the mountain. We protect our own. We attack the others. This us versus them mentality is a side effect of loneliness. We want to belong to the group so badly that we will do anything to keep the group safe. We feel a deep, burning pride when our group wins. We feel a deep, stinging shame when our group loses. These feelings are the fuel for every army that has ever marched. Without the need to belong, the fuel disappears. Imagine two humans in the solitary world. They both want the same patch of berry bushes. They might fight. They might hit each other with sticks or throw stones. One of them will win, and the other will walk away to find a different bush. But that is not a war. That is just a disagreement between two individuals. In this world, a disagreement never grows into a war. One man does not go back to his cave and gather 20 friends to seek revenge. He does not have 20 friends. He does not have a group that cares about his pride. The people he knows do not feel insulted because he lost a fight. They just see a man who doesn't have any berries, because there are no groups, there are no borders, there are no flags to defend. There are no religions to spread. Most of the reasons we kill each other in our world simply do not exist here. You cannot have a crusade if you cannot find 10 people who believe in the same thing. This makes the solitary world strangely peaceful. In our history, millions of people have died because of ideas. They died for the glory of a king. They died for the honor of a country. In the New World, no one dies for an idea. If you asked a solitary human to die for a king, they would look at you like you were insane. Why would they care about a king? What does a king give them that is worth their life? In our world, the king gives you a sense of belonging. He gives you a place in the story of your people. But if you don't feel lonely, you don't need a story, you don't need a place, you just need to be alive. This means that humanity never develops the tools of mass death. We never build fortresses, we never invent the catapult or the cannon. We never learn how to organize a supply line for an army. The resources of the world are never spent on defense or conquest. They are only spent on staying alive. But there is a dark side to this piece. In our world, war forced us to be creative. We invented the internet because of war. We invented jet engines because of war. We learned how to heal massive wounds because we had to fix soldiers on the battlefield. Conflict is a terrible teacher, but it is a fast one. In the solitary world, that pressure is gone. Life is safe from other humans, but it is stagnant. There is no competition between nations to be the smartest or the strongest. There is no space race because no one cares who gets to the moon first. If one person gets to the moon, it doesn't make the rest of humanity feel proud. It doesn't mean anything to them. The world is a series of quiet, individual lives. No cities are burned to the ground. No civilizations are wiped out by invaders. But no civilizations are built either. Humanity has traded the chaos of war for the silence of the woods. Think about the cost of that trade. We think of peace as the ultimate goal. But the peace of the solitary human is not the peace of a job well done. It is the peace of a vacuum. It is the peace of a world where nothing ever happens. We are left with a species that is physically the same as us. They have our eyes. They have our hands. They have our brains. But they are missing the fire that makes us move. They are missing the friction of other people. In our world, the person next to you is your greatest threat. But they are also your only hope. In the solitary world, the person next to you is just a shadow. And as the thousands of years pass, those shadows grow longer. The human population remains small, quiet, and disconnected. They have reached a perfect balance with nature, but they have lost the ability to change it. If you were to fly a plane over this version of Earth, you would think the humans were gone. In our world, you can see us from space. You see the glowing lights of our cities. You see the massive grids of our farms. You see the straight lines of our roads cutting through the mountains. We are a loud species. We leave a mark on everything we touch because we want to be remembered. We want to leave something behind for the people who come after us. But the humans who do not feel loneliness are like ghosts. They do not build monuments. They do not clear forests for highways. They move through the world like the wind moves through the grass. If one of them dies, the forest swallows them up in a week. There is no headstone. There is no name carved into a tree. There is no one left behind to tell their story. The total number of people on the planet is tiny. In our world, we hit 8 billion people. We were able to do that because we lived together and helped each other survive. In the solitary world, the population never grows past 5 or 6 million. That is roughly the same number of people who live in one medium-sized city today. But in this world, those 5 million people are spread across every continent. You could walk for 1,000 miles and never see another human being. This has a strange effect on how children are born. In our world, we have dating, we have romance, we have marriage. All of these things are social structures built on top of our need for connection. We stay with a partner because we love them, but we also stay with them because the idea of being alone for the rest of our lives is terrifying. Loneliness is the force that keeps couples together through the hard times. In the solitary world, there is no romance. There is no falling in love. Mating is a purely biological event. A man and a woman might find each other once every few years. They might stay together for a day or two. Then, they walk in opposite directions. They do not exchange names. They do not make promises to meet again. There is no heartbreak when they leave because there was no heart in the connection to begin with. This means that for the first few years of their lives, children are the only humans who are not alone. A mother will stay with her child because she has a biological drive to keep it alive. But this is not the kind of motherhood we know. There are no lullabies. There is no baby talk. The mother teaches the child how to hide. She teaches the child how to find clean water. She teaches the child how to sharpen a stone. And then, as soon as the child is big enough to kill a rabbit on its own, the mother leaves. In our world, this would be a tragedy. We call this abandonment. It is one of the most painful things a human can experience. But in this world, the child does not feel abandoned. They do not feel sad. They simply watch the mother walk away, and then they turn back to their own fire. They have everything they need. The silence of the world feels natural to them. Because the population is so small and so spread out, the gene pool moves very slowly. In our world, ideas and genes mix constantly. In the solitary world, a person in North America might have a slightly different way of making a spear than a person in Europe. And those two ideas will never meet, ever. Evolution slows down. Innovation stops completely. The human species becomes a stable part of the environment. We are no longer the top of the food chain in the way we are now. We are just another predator. We are smart, yes. We are dangerous, yes. But we are not a force of nature. We do not change the climate. We do not cause mass extinctions. We live and die within the rules of the forest. This is a world of perfect balance. There is no pollution. The oceans are full of fish. The air is the cleanest it has been in millions of years. But there is a heavy price for this balance. There is no humanity as we understand it. There is no one to appreciate the sunset. There is no one to wonder why the stars move the way they do. There is no one to ask why are we here. The ghost species is a success in terms of biology. They are healthy. They are not killing each other. They are not starving. But they are living a life that is completely empty of meaning. Meaning is a social invention. Meaning is what we create when we try to explain our feelings to someone else. Without someone to listen, meaning disappears. We are looking at a world that is beautiful, but it is a museum where the lights are turned off. The humans are there. They are breathing. They are hunting. But the soul of the species is gone. Because the soul is not something we have inside us. The soul is something that exists in the space between two people. And in this world, that space is 1,000 miles wide. Imagine a world where no one ever wrote a song. Imagine a world where no one ever painted a picture on a cave wall. Imagine a world where no one ever sat by a fire and wondered what the stars were. In our world, we think of art and music as hobbies. We think of them as things we do for fun, but they are actually something much deeper. They are attempts to reach out. They are a way of saying, I am here and I feel this. Do you feel it too? Every book ever written was an attempt to cure the author's loneliness. Every symphony was a bridge built from one mind to another. In our world, we create because we are desperate to be understood. We want to know that someone else sees the world the same way we do. We want to feel that we are part of something bigger than ourselves. But in the solitary world, there is no art. There is no music. There is no poetry, because there is no one to reach out to. The solitary human does not feel a hole that needs to be filled with beauty. They do not feel the silence is empty. To them, silence is just the absence of noise. It does not feel lonely. It does not feel sad. It just is. This means that the human spirit never really wakes up. In our history, our soul was forged in the fire of our social lives. We learned to be kind because we wanted people to stay near us. We learned to be funny because we wanted people to like us. We learned to be brave because we wanted to protect the people we loved. Our best qualities are all responses to the fear of being alone. Without that fear, those qualities never develop. The solitary humans are not bad people. They are not evil, but they are not good either. They are neutral, they are efficient, they are like high-functioning machines made of meat and bone. They live, they breathe, they die. And that is all. Think about what this does to the next 10,000 years. In our world, we are constantly trying to fix the planet. We are constantly trying to build a better future. We do this because we care about the human story. We want the people who live 100 years from now to have a better life than we do. We feel a connection to humans we will never meet. In the solitary world, there is no human story. There is only the individual story. And the individual story always ends the same way. It ends in the dirt. Because there is no connection between generations, there is no building. Knowledge does not accumulate. Wisdom is never passed down. The human species stays exactly the same for 1,000,000 years. They do not go to the moon. They do not cure diseases. They do not invent the wheel. They are a biological success, but a creative failure. They have survived the world, but they have not lived in it. They are the ultimate survivors because they have no weaknesses. But they have no strengths either. They have no love. They have no hope. They have no purpose. This is the long shadow of a world without loneliness. It is a world of perfect, quiet survival. It is a world where the sun rises and sets on a planet that no one truly sees. We often complain about how much it hurts to be alone. We complain about the stress of social media and the pressure to fit in. But that pain is the only reason we have a world worth living in. The pain of loneliness is the price of admission for everything beautiful we have ever made. It is the tax we pay for being human. In this other world, the tax is never paid. And so, the beauty is never bought. We are left with a species that is perfectly safe and perfectly empty. Now, we have to look at what this tells us about ourselves. We have to look at the 3 big lessons this journey has taught us. Because even if this world is a fantasy, the reasons it exists are very real. They are written in your DNA right now. We have traveled 50,000 years into a world that never was. A world where the human brain is missing a single painful alarm. We have seen how that one change would stop the village from being built. We have seen how it would keep us from ever learning to talk, to farm, or to fly. It is a quiet world. It is a safe world. But it is a world without a soul. So what does this tell us about the lives we are living right now? It tells us that we have been looking at loneliness all wrong. We treat it like a disease. We treat it like a sign of failure. But when you look at the alternate history of our species, you see the truth. Loneliness is not a weakness. Loneliness is a superpower. Here are the 4 big lessons from the world that never felt lonely. First, your pain is an invitation. Loneliness is your brain telling you that you are part of a team that needs you. It is the same as the pain of a broken bone. It is there to tell you that something is wrong and needs to be fixed. Without that pain, we would never have built the families and communities that keep us safe. Second, civilization is built on fear. Not the fear of an enemy, but the fear of being alone. We built cities, laws, and hospitals because we wanted to stay together. We invented the internet because we wanted to reach across the ocean and find someone like us. Everything you see around you is a monument to our desire to connect. Third, meaning requires an audience. The solitary humans were smart, but they never discovered why they were alive. Meaning is something that happens between 2 people. It is a story we tell each other to make sense of the dark. If you want your life to mean something, you have to find someone to share it with. Finally, your sensitivity is your strength. In the solitary world, humans were tough and self-reliant, but they were also stuck in the mud. Our ability to feel hurt, to feel rejected, and to feel lonely is what makes us move. It is the engine of progress. It is what makes us human. So the next time you feel that heavy ache in your chest, the next time the silence of your room feels too loud, try to remember the ghost species. Remember the people who lived for 1,000,000 years and never left a mark. They never felt the pain you are feeling, but they never felt the love you are capable of either. Your loneliness is proof that you belong to the most successful team in the history of the earth. It is a signal from your ancestors. It is a call to reach out. And when you do reach out, you are not just helping yourself. You are participating in the one thing that changed the world. This is a hypothetical scenario based on the historical record. Real outcomes would depend on factors no model can predict.